Good morning, everyone. Thank you for that introduction. I'd like to welcome everyone to our first Friday seminar of the year with Professor Bruce Watson. Bruce is the director of the CoE, and he has a lot of exciting news to share with you about what has happened in the CoE in the recent past, if I can call it that way, and what we are planning for the future. Thank you very much, Bruce. Over to you.
Thank you, Casey. And thank you to the online audience for joining us today for the first of our CoE talks for 2025. And happy Valentine's Day, by the way. I will be talking about a little bit about where the CoE has come from, what the current landscape is, and where we think and hope to go. The first part of the talk is about where we've come from. And for those of you who don't know, CoE was founded about 11 years ago. And it was founded in response to a government study of the state of mathematical sciences in South Africa. And that was finalized in 2008, that study. And in the 11 years of the CoE so far, we've supervised, we've funded around 240 postgraduate students, more than 50 postdocs, and have facilitated and provided seed funding for over 100 workshops and conferences. We are funded through the Department of Science and Technology and Innovation, DSTI, as it now is, and it's funded through the National Research Foundation. We also do work on bringing in partnership funding and private funding. The CoE as an entity is composed of its staff, and that is myself, Casey Sparks, who's the director of it, Samaya Khan, who is the research administrator, the front desk, the communication, the first port of call, Norma, who does the finances, a very, very important part of it, and then Diane, who is in charge of media, publicity, and that aspect. And on top of that, we have a team of techs who do all the back-end stuff, making sure that videos run correctly, things are video recorded, and all of that. Then we step down to the node leaders who are geographically located. They are assigned geographically to the different institutions. They're actually appointed by the institution, and they are deputy node leaders as well. We try to make sure that the node leaders and deputy node leaders come from one from stats and one from maths, so that we get a fair representation. So that is the geographical management. There are numerous nodes across the country, but I will talk about that later. And then we have focus area coordinators, and those are allocated by subject. And specialists in the different areas communicate with us, and we then facilitate in the appointing of the focus area coordinators and assistant focus area coordinators. Down from that, we get to the more important people, some of the most important people actually. The researchers themselves, the educators, the postdocs, and the postgraduate students. And those last four are really who we exist for. What we do, we facilitate the organization of conferences, we assist running conferences, we provide seed funding, we provide postdoc funding, postgraduate student funding, we fund individual research projects and various maths education and community outreach projects. Our founding nodes were University of Witwatersrand, which is where it is hosted, Northwest University, University of KwaZulu-Natal, and University of Pretoria. And then we have a long list of collaborating nodes. In total, we have relations with 26 of the higher education institutions in South Africa to be able to fund projects within those. I'm not going to go through this. And then we have the subsidiary nodes, which are other societies and organizations who we have affiliation with. And those include CoE-MaSS, the SASA, the Institute of Certified Statisticians of South Africa, South African Maths Society, SAMF, the South African Maths Foundation, which does great work in education areas, especially, and then SAMSA. And our focus areas involve most of the interest areas of the mathematical sciences. So that is mathematical sciences and statistical sciences. Statistics is part of the mathematical sciences as we see it. And they're listed there. And we are working on increasing the presence of the statistical sciences in that focus area representation. That is under discussion at the moment. Our priorities. We aim at creating communication within the South African mathematical sciences community. That is one of our biggest aims, and we do that via workshops, facilitating workshops, seminars, and some community outreach projects as well. We hope to expand the knowledge of South African mathematical sciences in South Africa, and that is to academic mathematicians, students, teachers, and school kids. We hope to bring interested parties together for research, expanding the mathematical ability and creating a love for mathematics and the mathematical sciences. Our aim is to reach out to as many as possible in the South African community, especially where there's need and where there's disadvantage. And we also aim at promoting excellence in the mathematical sciences at all levels. And this summarizes the type of objects we fund. We provide seed funding for local conferences and workshops, and we facilitate with the actual organization of some workshops. Participation in local conferences for graduate students and early career academics, and that's managed by the conference organizers. Research grants for individual research projects, bringing in to South Africa collaborators to work with local groups of researchers, mathematics outreach to school learners, and intervention for school mathematics teachers to improve the education of mathematics. We strongly promote mathematics in historically disadvantaged institutions. We strongly support academics in institutions where mathematics and mathematical sciences research is weak. The more people who will benefit from the research grant, the more priority we give it. So if a project reaches out to an enormous number of people and will change the mathematical landscape in the country, we are more likely to fund that than a single individual research project. And like everyone, we have constraints. our resources are not infinite. Our funds are limited, and the demand and the call we have on our funds way exceeds what we have available. We rarely fund initiatives that will only benefit a single researcher. We're also busy with negotiations with various international reciprocal collaboration agreements. These enable us to leverage funding both overseas and locally, so that the funds we have go a lot further than just funding the project here. These joint projects have other governments around the country, around the world, who invest for their side of it. We need to leverage or organize funds from South Africa, sometimes directly from our funding, and sometimes from NRF or other funding or private funders to match the overseas contribution. And recently, we've partnered with CoE-MaSS and SAMF to increase the impact within the mathematics and statistics pipeline in South Africa. This is where we'll talk about now. A summary of our vision is to have all higher education institutions with well-functioning mathematical sciences departments, all academics in the mathematical and statistical sciences in South Africa having the opportunity to be research active, all schools in South Africa having properly qualified maths teachers, South African school learners actively being engaged in mathematics, and all, that is everyone in South Africa, having the opportunity to succeed mathematically. And this leads us to the way forward. CoE-MaSS has been granted an extension until 2029 from the DSTI NRF. During this time, we've been given the go-ahead from DSTI NRF with the support from the management of BITS to evolve and develop, to grow and support the mathematical sciences in South Africa as a whole, and to promote internationalization. So that is, and how do we see this growth, and how do we see supporting mathematical and statistical sciences in South Africa and promoting internationalization? So the first of the partnerships we set up was with CoE-MaSS and NGA-MaSS. NGA-MaSS specializes in early career development. So that is academic people holding academic posts at higher education institutions who are either early career academics who are working towards their PhDs or who have their PhDs. Okay. This partnership is the embryo of the formation of the Institute of Mathematical Sciences and Applications, called IMSA, which will involve more founding partners. But at the moment, as I said, this collaboration is the embryo of it. And as with all of these entities, it has to have a starting point to build on. This will build on the existing networks and foundations of CoE-MaSS and NGA-MaSS. The objectives of IMSA are diversification of the models of doctoral training to improve throughput and produce PhD graduates that have both breadth and depth of knowledge in the mathematical science. To facilitate the establishment of research training networks in areas of strength, to strengthen mathematical sciences at historically disadvantaged universities. Also, to provide opportunities for academics employed at South African universities who do not hold PhDs to register and complete PhDs, and diversify the knowledge domains in South Africa in the mathematical sciences landscape. Further objectives are the internationalization of the South African mathematical sciences through international mobility, collaboration networks, and strategic partnerships. We have various of those in the pipeline at the moment. We will publicize those as they become finalized. And to promote knowledge exchange, collaboration with users of mathematical sciences, both in government, the private sector, and to improve the impact of mathematical sciences nationally and internationally to meet the challenges of the 21st century. So that is the IMSA partnership. Our second pillar partnership in our evolution is that with SAMF, the South African Mathematics Foundation. The CoE-SAMF partnership focuses on strengthening mathematics education in South Africa. We've already partnered with SAMF on the Maths Olympiad training of trainers. This is hosted at, I think it is 6 of the universities now. This feeds into both developing graduate students and developing school-level mathematics, and bringing mathematically competent and highly able people into the school community and increasing interest in the mathematical sciences. We've also been working together with the mathematics education SARCHI chairs to form a community of practice in mathematics education, to work on raising the level of school mathematics in South Africa. There was a recent report on the level and competency of South African school kids in mathematics. And I would urge anyone who's complacent about the state of mathematics in South African schools to go and read that report. It really, the South African academic community, mathematics academic community and statistics academic community really does need to be involved in informing government, informing the school system, and actively involved in improving it and building it. This leads us to the CoE-NGA-MaSS SAMF partnership. And this is a partnership which is the beginning of the formation of a national entity to address the development and promotion of the mathematical and statistical sciences in, and I quote here, from the cradle to the grave. So in other words, all the way from school through higher education, through early career, through into established research profiles and active researchers, and teaching academics, school teachers, all of that. And that is our aim, to have an entity which addresses that. We hope that it will improve school-level maths education, promote quality mathematics at undergraduate level, support postgraduate mathematics and statistics education, support early career mathematicians and statisticians, provide support for established academics in the mathematical sciences with mobility grants and international exchange programs. It also needs to facilitate meetings and workshops in the mathematical sciences. And our overarching aim is a better South Africa. And this, as we see it, requires the support from the state, the private sector, and other stakeholders and organizations to build mathematical excellence and statistical excellence in education and the society. Produce a society that is reasoning and thinking. And all of modern technology is founded on mathematics and statistics. And to succeed in this century, we need to be there. We need to be excellent in the mathematical sciences. Thank you.
Thank you very
And-
much. Carry on, Bruce.
That is where we hope to get, so that South Africa can grow and be strong. Yes, there's a hand.
Can you please go back to your priorities, possibly?
Which one of the objectives or the priorities?
Priorities. How are you going to achieve all those things when you cut the budget? Like this year, we asked for MISG, we asked for 150,000 rand as usual. Things are going up. We only got 80,000. How much did we get from 90? From in the previous, the budget was cut by almost 50% instead of increased by 50%. I know you put the constraints somewhere.
Okay. The ask on our funds exceeded what we had by more than a factor of 3. Just in workshops and conference requests, we had more than double the entire CoE budget in requests. And it's not that they were bad requests for funding. We don't have that money.
Ask for more from whatever innovation, something DST innovation that you mentioned.
Well, we have a fixed grant from them.
It's not increasing.
It hasn't increased for many years.
I'm just thinking.
We
How is this going to
are
sustain us,
deeply
you know?
involved with negotiating with private industry, because that is one of the areas where there is some success. Under this partnership, we have recently tied up under the IMSA partnership with Investec, and Investec has invested an enormous amount of money.
Can I ask one more question, please?
But the point is, that is a pool of money
Mhm.
that we can tap into. DSTI, NRF has limited budgets. And they know what our constraints are, but they know what the request for funding has been.
And with the threat from the US, it's going to be worse, isn't it?
We are very sad about that, because we were this close to an NSF South Africa agreement that we were putting in, and it was due to be sent off to NSF and all of that, and it was frozen. So that we will wait and see how that landscape develops.
One more question.
Yes.
You speak about developing high school maths. We're suffering here at Beth with our own calculus 1 and algebra 1 and maths 1. When are we going to focus on our own programs here? Using CoE to assist. As much as you want us to go to high schools, ask ourselves, clean our own houses.
So what are you actually asking, Joel?
You mentioned that, I think in one of the slides, that we're going to have mathematics education, something.
We do have a mathematics education focus area. We do.
That's in
And
the
the
CoE,
CoE, yes.
which supports teaching of maths at Beth or at partners.
Yes, people put in proposals for initiatives to improve different aspects of maths education, and we fund some projects in that area. It is one of our focus areas, yes. But if BITS does not put in a proposal to do something about it, and typically we would like it that you were going to run it at a group of universities, then we will look at it.
Okay,
But if no one proposes that, it's not going to be funded.
I think it's saying. No, this is not attack, it's just my observations of things as you're speaking. Because I'm also very interested and very actually more concerned about things that are happening and funding that's getting cut all the time. That we may not be able to do all the things that we think we should.
Well, we have some very interested European partners who are interested in partnering with the CoE and WITS and the network, essentially the network that CoE has. From the couple that are under negotiation at the moment and some from the UK. So, as I said, I can't talk about those till they're finalized. But yes, we are in negotiation with those, and one works at what one can, and tries to improve the South African maths community and give us more opportunities at all levels.
Thank you.
Bruce, are there any other questions from the room? Let's take those from the seminar room first, and then we'll go to online questions and chats.
David.
Yes. I said one of the aims was to support people from the cradle to the grave. That includes retired researchers.
That's a valid question. Our aim is to support all of the maths community that is active. We would like a large portion of the South African community to be maths active and to support them. So I know we have supported your Maths in Industry, which is a magnificent initiative. And we hope that that initiative will continue. As far as individual research grants, this is always a problem because we look at what the impact is of a proposal to the South African maths community. So we are less likely to support an individual person's research grant if it only benefits one researcher. If it benefits an entire group of researchers, it will get a higher priority. Does that answer your question? It is not whether you are emeritus or not.
And Bruce, can I just come in there? Those proposals that partner with HDIs will be given even more consideration, if I can put it that way.
And that is, and to build on what Casey said there, this is a directive from our funders, from DSTI NRF. We are expected to build capacity in HDIs. So one of the good ways to do that is you partner with an advantaged university and an HDI, and you can get the benefit to both of them, both grow. Or maybe an entire group of university grows and develops.
Second question, one of our former members of staff is now at Manchester University, very strong in fluid mechanics, and there's potential maybe of developing something there. How does one go about this? You say you're in the progress of doing these types of development.
We are.
Bruce, sorry, could you repeat the question? We couldn't hear it online.
David Mason said that one of his past PhD students now holds a position in Scotland.
No, Manchester.
In Manchester, sorry, Manchester,
Yes.
not in the UK, sorry,
Yes.
not Scotland. In Manchester, and how can we build collaboration and joint interactions there? And that we can look into that. That one was not brought to my attention. We are in negotiations with various parts of Scotland on collaborations, but we have not looked at Manchester in the UK. But if you email Casey and myself, we will pursue the matter. Because many of these agreements are tied up between individual universities and the CoE, but sometimes there are national or regional entities which we partner. The CoE-MaSS has the good fortune of being able to work through the WITS international offices in the UK and in New York to foster partnerships. So we do actually have tentacles in there that we can access. Does that answer?
Yes.
Further questions from the online audience?
Hi, Bruce. It's Arun Bisham here. How are you?
Well, thank you.
Okay.
Do you want to put your video on so I can
Oh,
further
okay. Here we go. I'm not sure if you can see me.
Yes, I can.
Okay. Excuse me not wearing anything on top, but it's very hot here in Durban. All right. So I've got a few questions. The one is you mentioned an international mathematics something. I just forget exactly what it was called, some Institute of Mathematical Sciences. Now, as you know, there are various other institutes. You know, there's, for example, NITEX, with which we were associated. There, of course, the budget was cut substantially for this year. Hopefully for next year, we'll get much more. Then there's SAMS. Then there's also the Mathematics Education Society. And then there's also this organization that Luis Ongonsa had formed. I forget exactly what it is formed, but that was main. Yeah, that was mainly to try and improve sort of postgraduate training, postgraduate students, etc. So now, is it envisaged that there will be kind of one overarching body for mathematics in South Africa, you know, which probably may be more effective than all the other different bodies, because in some cases there is duplication. So how do you see this developing in future?
Okay, at the moment, as I talked about the partnerships of CoE with NGA-MaSS. NGA-MaSS is the entity that Luiso set up. So we've partnered with them on early career development, early career academic development. We've also partnered with SAMF, which is on the maths educators and maths education. SAMF is also, it's a joint project of South African Maths Society and MISA. So we're trying to bring the community together. We do not aim at taking over anyone. That is not our aim. We would like to have a coordinated effort to build a national entity that can lobby for funding, both nationally and internationally, coordinate maths initiatives amongst the existing entities, societies, and all of those. And the level of merging of entities depends on how the entities even exist. For instance, SAMF and CoE-MaSS will never merge because CoE-MaSS is a state entity and SAMF is a private company, which is, it's an NGO, I think it's an NGO. It has its own mechanisms of operation. It is officially one of the communication mechanisms of the mathematical sciences to government. So it has its own place and its own role. We are trying to coordinate the efforts of the maths community to be better funded, grow both in all parts of the maths system, from education at school level through university, through research, postgrad, all of that, and to try and unify that effort and thereby lobby for a larger cut of various pies of money to make that happen, and to collect private money as well and international money to facilitate mathematics and statistics in South Africa. That is our aim. Our aim is not to take over or rule. It is to coordinate and build. I hope that answers your question.
Thank you, Bruce. Just one other quick question. You know, the budgets all around have been cut substantially. For example, from CoE-MaSS, one of my colleagues is organizing a workshop, and in the past he received some funding from CoE-MaSS, and you know, this was largely used to fund Black students from the HTIs largely. But this time around, he got not much funding for supporting, you know, postgrad students, especially from the HTIs. So now it's up to the HTIs themselves to try and support these students. So I just want to echo the sentiment that you expressed earlier, that funding is becoming a real issue in the mathematics community. Thank you.
Well, the CoE-MaSS grant has stagnated for many years now.
Since 2019.
Since 2019, the grant has remained the same. So any extra funding we get is through negotiation of partnerships, either with private sector or international partners. And that is the way we are looking at this. We are aware that government might give us, let's say, DSTI, NRF, may increase our grant to some extent. But if we want any large scale increase on it, we have to negotiate that with the private sector, various other bodies that fund academic research. And we are in negotiations with many of those. And we have had some success and some setbacks. So, but we are looking at our DSTI NRF funding as being seed funding to build on. And I think we have to look at it in those terms. We can't say that we can fund everything from DSTI NRF. That's not going to be the way forward, as I see it.
Thank you, Bruce.
Thank you.
Bruce, if I can go to Rezia Dockrate from WITS, has posted a message on the chat. Thanks so much, Prof. I'm quite interested in how we as academics in maths and stats can play a part in improving mathematics at school level. Apart from the STEM Mentor program, are there any other similar programs that we can participate in?
Yes, there are. And I think
perhaps Kirsten can come in here on the Olympiads, Bruce.
Yes, and there are some initiatives run by statisticians on developing school level mathematics as well. So both, but if Kirsten would like to come in.
Hi, is Roisa a statistician or a mathematician?
A statistician.
Okay. Well, the WITS will hopefully soon have its Siyankoba Mathematics Talent Development Center revived. So we're busy on working on that. We've submitted a funding proposal with the CoE in partnership also with University of Pretoria to Erasmus Plus. And then there will be opportunities there to work with talented learners and developing their problem-solving skills. So Bruce mentioned that we've had facilitator training at some of the HTIs, and obviously there'll be training then if that starts at CoE-MaSS as well, or sorry, in this case at WITS. You can contact the president of the South African Maths Society. They have programs for future mathematicians, but if you're a statistician, you should actually look at the Statistics Society. They have a committee that works on statistics education. Nombuso Zondo is the chair of that. She's at UKZN. And they have some very interesting programs. For instance, they're doing maths lessons that they record, and statistics, specifically for the statistics syllabus at school level. They're busy with that program, so that would be something you could look at as well.
Nombuso has moved to Northwest University.
Northwest, not, okay, sorry.
It just moved. Other questions? Yes, Abdul.
Yeah. So what then is the purpose of having focus areas in specific research, mathematics research?
Okay.
Because it seems it's now redundant under this particular set of not supporting anything.
No, they all proposals are processed through the different focus areas. The proposals are divided up by their focus areas, and then they are vetted by the focus area coordinator and assistant coordinators. Then find referees for the proposals, and the proposals are refereed. And then when it comes to actual allocation of grants and things like that, the reports are assembled and assessed.
But does it then distribute monies almost in proportion, or it may just be that it could be totally distorted?
No, we try to make sure there is fair representation of each focus area. There's some focus areas where we get possibly one proposal, and then there are others where, so there's a difference in size of the focus areas, but we do look at the size of the focus area as well. We look at the awarding of grants. So we attempt as much fairness and correct procedure as possible.
And Bruce, if I can just add to that for the audience. So the focus area, assistant focus area coordinator get referees, and then we get those reports. But then it's not just Bruce and I deciding. We've got a subcommittee from the Scientific Advisory Committee that sits and evaluates those and takes the referee reports into account, etc. So that's the full process that we have implemented. Barai, you've got a question?
Thanks, Casey. Thanks, Bruce. Mine is just to really maybe establish, I mean, on the basis of what Bruce was saying in terms of impact, when people are applying for grants, etc. I mean, I'm talking from a supervisor point of view. When you're trying to get some kind of support to help students, particularly from also disadvantaged communities, etc. Doing a master's degree, and then you apply, and then maybe there's no support in a sense, but then you hear also from other colleagues from previously disadvantaged universities that they've also maybe applied in the past and they also didn't get the support. So, I mean, my question would be, in that space, what exactly is regarded as impact in that space if people are planning to have like a writing retreat for master students, etc. I mean, we all know the challenges with throughput at master's level, particularly in the statistical sciences. That's what I'm talking about. So maybe even the e-science programs, etc. There's serious throughput issues there with regards to some of the students who are kind of working and they have challenges with completing their projects, etc. So my question is, what is impact in that space? What is it that one should maybe put as the best foot if they want to get funding in that space?
Okay, I can respond to one aspect of your question, and that is that we attempt to have each year a closed call to HDIs for projects directly related to HDIs. So in that call, they are not competing with the historically advanced university. So that is, and we ring fence some funds for that. So in that call, you are not competing in the open pool. So that is obviously, if you go into the main open call for workshop grants and all that, we look at how many people it's going to impact, what it's assessed the impact will be to that focus area of the maths community in South Africa, and how many people benefit and some things like that. And then that is assessed by the referees and fed back. But as I said, if you apply under the HDI call, you are not competing with historically advanced universities. Does that answer your question in any way?
To some degree, yes. Thanks, Bruce. But I'll probably, yeah. I think I need just a bit more clarity on. Yeah. I mean, what is the best foot? I mean, like you mentioned that how many people does it kind of impact? So I mean, just some form of indicators maybe, in terms of what is expected. What is expected for someone to actually qualify, or rather get the funding. I know it's competitive. It probably depends on demand and supply, etc. But
and the cost of the workshop that's planned for however long the workshop is, and the payoff for it. And as I said, this is all taken into account by your referees, which are from your focus area.
And if I can just come in there, Bruce, Farai is actually from WITS, so I think that's also, he's not from an HDI. But Farai, possibly if you had to set up, for example, a writing retreat, which you mentioned, but you got people from, or students from one or more of the HDIs, and maybe some of the supervisors to come together and do a combined writing retreat, that would give you a better chance of getting the award.
That was my question, Casey, because I mean I've had a proposal like that, exactly what you mentioned, and I mean it wasn't successful, and the colleague that I was trying to bring with his own students to actually work together on a writing retreat with other students from here also mentions that he also tried in the past, and from his end, and it was also not successful.
Yeah, all I can say is there are very many unsuccessful grants, unfortunately.
Well, if you look at the total request on grant funds across all the different things that we fund, we probably received around 30 million rands worth of requests for last year. And we have nothing like that amount of money. So yes, sadly, we can't fund even some of the very good initiatives that we would like to fund, we can't. And hence, looking for funding. Further questions? David?
Bruce, could you give us some idea of, using very dry, of what you imagine is going to be happen after 2029? Is this new entity going to be a standalone entity, or is it going to be associated with universities? And when do you think discussions and input of ideas for this will start?
Okay. Did the audience hear that?
No, Bruce, if you can repeat it.
Okay, so David asked, firstly, what do we think will happen after 2029? And when are formal discussions of that going to start happening and there being input into it? So I can respond to a little bit of this. The parties at DSTI and NRF who we report to from the CoE informed us that we should not see this part as a sunset period, but more like a phoenix period, where we re-evolve and develop into something new, bigger, better, etc. That was from the NRF DSTI part. DSTI, one of the DSTI representatives was instrumental in our going the route of setting up or working on the proposal for a community of practice and putting the concept documents to DSTI on the maths education side. So that they see as an important pillar to this development. So the development that we have been doing has been in discussion to some extent with representatives from NRF and DSTI. And we've moved in what we have gauged as the implied directions they would like us to move. Some things they have said explicitly, some things are by implication. And we have been working with that over the past 18 months to move in the directions indicated here. And this also included the fact that we have ring-fenced funds for HDIs now, which we did not have before. So there are various aspects of how we do things, how we expected to do things, that we are bringing in line with what is expected by the DSTI and NRF for development.
And Bruce, I think Prof mentioned if it's going to be a standalone entity, if I heard it correctly. So then just to come in there, the new institute that we're working towards will be based at one of the universities. No decisions obviously have been made, but government money has to go to a university or higher education institution. It can't go to, we can't, for example, form a PTY Limited, because then we can't get government money into that PTY Limited. So it will always be based at a university.
There will be a main hub with nodes elsewhere. And that is under the current way government distributes funding, it has to be of that form. Because that is how they pay money from DSTI, NRF to higher education or to such entities. And it also, the university which hosts it as the main hub is responsible for all the auditing, etc., of the processes and all the legal processes involved in it. So it's a big responsibility for whichever university does host it. And in some instances, bankroll the entity while things happen.
Coming to the end of our hour, I don't see any more comments or questions online. Are there any more questions from the audience? The face-to-face audience?
No, there are none from the face-to-face audience.
Okay.
Any from the online audience?
No, nothing from the online audience. Then Bruce, I'd like to thank you for this presentation, and thank you for the discussion from all the audience members. And we really hope to take our discussions forward. As Bruce has mentioned, this is a work in progress, and we want to involve everyone in our plans. So if you would like to chat to us, just pop an email to the CoE mailbox, and we're more than happy to set up meetings or just have telephonic discussions, etc. So thank you very much. Thank you, Bruce, and to everybody, have a wonderful Valentine's Day and an excellent weekend.